shocking twists and explosive decisions in Genoa City. In this Young and the Restless recap, Sienna insists Matt is dead, but a dramatic desert twist reveals he's actually alive. As she struggles with fragmented memories, the truth begins to unravel. Meanwhile, Jack takes a bold risk involving Patty, while Sally faces a life-changing decision about Billy. Nick opens up about his addiction, prompting Jack to step in and help, but Victor's fury reaches a dangerous peak. With secrets exposed and tensions rising, Genoa City is headed for even bigger fallout. Welcome to A Mysterious Time TV, where the drama unfolds and the stories captivate. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of Young and the Restless, uncovering untold stories and hidden truths behind the headlines. Y&RRecap Friday, May 1st, Sienna claims Matt is dead, but a shocking twist emerges in the desert. The Friday, May 1st episode of The Young and the Restless delivers intense drama and major revelations. While Sienna Bacall remains convinced she killed Matt Clark, the truth unfolding far from Genoa City suggests otherwise. At the same time, Nick Newman opens up to Victor about his struggle with addiction, and Phyllis Summers finds herself increasingly isolated as legal pressure mounts against her. The episode aired on May 1, 2026, in the United States, with Canadian viewers getting an early look one day prior. Phyllis pushes back against Michael's warnings. At the Genoa City Athletic Club, Phyllis meets with Lauren Fenmore and Michael Baldwin, hoping to move forward with hiring new staff. However, Michael quickly shifts the conversation to a more urgent matter, Victor Newman. He stresses that Phyllis needs to understand the seriousness of her situation and the threat Victor poses. Phyllis, unwilling to engage on that front, tries to steer things back to business. Lauren insists that Michael share details about his recent meeting with Victor. When Phyllis learns she was kept in the dark, she's furious and dismissive of anything Victor might have said. Michael explains that Victor now sees his representation of Phyllis as a personal betrayal, complicating matters further. He urges her to face reality. Victor holds all the power, and this is no longer just a legal issue, it's personal. Suspicious of Michael's motives, Phyllis questions whether he's trying to repair his relationship with Victor by persuading her to accept a deal. Lauren also grows uneasy, while Michael admits he's still weighing his options. When Phyllis asks directly if she can rely on him, Michael doesn't give a clear answer. That frustrates both women. Lauren reminds him that he claimed he was done working under Victor's influence, but Michael insists this case is separate. Still, he remains pessimistic. He doubts they can prove the incriminating emails were fabricated, especially with former department heads ready to testify. He also warns that Christine Williams, the district attorney, is unlikely to side with them. If the case goes to trial, Michael says he would advise accepting a plea deal. Phyllis shuts that down immediately. Michael then suggests another possibility, avoiding charges altogether by giving in to Victor's demands. That suggestion sparks anger on both sides. Determined to fight, Phyllis declares her strategy is simple: win. She reveals she already has a list of alternative attorneys willing to take on Victor. Michael reviews the list and finds only one name worth considering, but delivers crushing news: Victor has already secured that lawyer, along with nearly every other capable attorney in town. Feeling cornered, Phyllis lashes out, accusing Michael of betrayal before storming off. Christine faces pressure as Victoria pushes for action. At Crimson Lights, Victoria Newman meets with Christine Williams and hands over documents that allegedly tie Phyllis to criminal wrongdoing. Christine makes it clear that she will follow the evidence wherever it leads, regardless of personal feelings. Victoria insists the evidence speaks for itself, but Christine notes that Kane Ashby may also be involved and raises the possibility that Billy Abbott could be implicated as well. Although there's no direct communication from Billy in the documents, Christine warns that the investigation could still pull him in. She asks Victoria if she's truly prepared for that outcome, given Billy is the father of her children. Victoria admits she doesn't want Billy to suffer, but she refuses to let family ties interfere with justice. She points out that both Billy and Phyllis made their own choices. Victoria also reveals that Phyllis's own daughter has distanced herself from her. Christine urges her to think about the impact on her children, but Victoria insists she's doing this for their sake. Sienna struggles to recall what happened. At Sharon Newman's home, Sharon and Noah Newman discuss Sienna, who is resting nearby. Sharon wonders if Sienna's claim of self-defense might not tell the whole story, though she emphasizes she wouldn't blame her either way. Determined to get clarity, Sharon gently wakes Sienna and offers her tea before asking about Matt Clark's fate. Sienna is visibly shaken, worrying she could face prison. Noah quickly defends her, insisting it was self-defense. However, Sienna admits her memory is fragmented. She recalls Matt's intense, almost exhilarated expression as he believed he had everyone trapped. She says she tried to reason with him, even suggesting they run away together, but he refused. Her recollections end in confusion, with only flashes of what might have happened. Nick confesses his addiction to Victor. Meanwhile, at the Newman Ranch, Nick and Adam Newman update Victor on recent events. Victor presses Nick about how he ended up being drugged by Matt Clark, sensing that something is being hidden. Eventually, Nick confesses the truth: he has been struggling with a fentanyl addiction. While Matt played a role, Nick admits much of the responsibility is his own. He explains that his dependency began with prescribed painkillers after an accident but escalated when he turned to unprescribed pills supplied by Matt. Victor is visibly shaken by the revelation, and Nick becomes emotional as he apologizes. Adam steps in to support his brother, noting that Sharon has already arranged outpatient treatment. Victor embraces Nick, offering support despite his disappointment. Nick promises that recovery is now his top priority, and Victor agrees not to press him further. The conversation then shifts to Matt Clark. Nick explains that Sienna collapsed before she could provide clear answers, and Adam notes that the police have not been involved, something Victor appreciates as it avoids public scrutiny. Before leaving, Nick asks about the situation with Phyllis. Victor reveals that Victoria has already delivered evidence against her to Christine. Nick questions whether the evidence is legitimate, but Victor brushes off the concern, saying it doesn't matter, Phyllis took his company, and he intends to reclaim it. Sharon pushes too far. Back at Sharon's house, Sienna continues recounting her encounter with Matt. She explains that she found him by chance while heading to an address given by Risa. Matt initially focused more on boasting about his plan than attacking her. Sienna remembers seeing him on the ground afterward but cannot clearly recall how he got there. Despite the gaps, she remains convinced that he is dead. Sharon presses for more details, including the location, but Sienna can only say it happened somewhere in the desert. Noah grows concerned as Sharon's questioning intensifies, and Sienna becomes overwhelmed, eventually fleeing the room. Nick arrives just as Noah goes after her. Sharon admits she may have pushed too hard but remains troubled by the lack of certainty about Matt's fate. Nick, still shaken, confides that he's struggling emotionally. Sharon reassures him that recovery is a process and that no one is judging him. Nick expresses guilt for putting others in danger, but Sharon encourages him to forgive himself. She also notes that Sienna reacted strongly when the possibility of Matt being alive was mentioned, a detail that raises further questions. Victor's plan faces doubts. Later at the ranch, Victoria informs Victor that Christine has received the evidence but didn't seem entirely convinced. She also asks whether Michael will represent Phyllis. Victor confidently states that Michael won't take the case if he knows what's best for him. Phyllis cuts ties with Michael. Back at the athletic club, tensions explode as Phyllis confronts Michael again, accusing him of defending Sharon against her wishes. Michael counters that Sharon was innocent, but Phyllis insists she is too. Michael points out that Phyllis did play a role in launching the controversial AI program alongside Kane. Phyllis argues that Victor engaged in similar actions, but Michael remains firm, he doesn't believe she can win. That's the final straw. Phyllis fires Michael on the spot, declaring that even the least qualified lawyer on her list would be better than him. After she leaves, Michael vents his frustration to Lauren. He insists the case is unwinnable, but Lauren believes that's beside the point. She suspects Michael is more concerned with staying in Victor's good graces than standing by Phyllis. Phyllis finds herself alone. At Summer's conglomerate, Phyllis returns to her office and once again speaks to her portrait, reflecting her growing isolation. Frustrated and overwhelmed, she questions why everything seems to be working against her. Shocking twist, Matt Clark is alive. Far away in the desert, the truth finally emerges. Matt Clark lies motionless on the ground, bloodied from a head injury. For a moment, he appears lifeless. Then, suddenly, his eyes open. Despite Sienna's belief, and everyone else's assumptions, Matt Clark is alive. Coming next week. Looking ahead, Lily Winters witnesses Kane being taken away in handcuffs. Patty Williams appears alongside Victor and Diane Jenkins at the bar. And perhaps most ominously, Matt Clark sets his sights on Genoa City, suggesting that the danger is far from over. Next update. Jack's dangerous gamble with Patty and Sally finally makes her decision about Billy. Thursday, April 30th, 2026, today's episode delivers tension, emotional confrontations, and major turning points as Phyllis feels deeply betrayed, Victoria challenges Kyle's perspective, and Jack sets a risky plan in motion. Kyle arrives at the club and immediately encounters Patty, who eagerly tries to introduce herself. He cuts her off, questioning why she's still around and warning that if her presence has anything to do with his father, it won't end well. Patty, unfazed, seems entertained by his boldness. She hints at Diane's transformation into a respected figure and claims she wants the same kind of acceptance, adding that she's already making progress with Jack. Kyle strongly disagrees and insists she should leave town. Patty, however, gushes about how much she loves being back. When Kyle calls her unstable, she bristles, then alludes to her epic love story with Jack. Kyle fires back that his mother will recover and return home, and if Patty interferes, he won't hesitate to make her life miserable. He emphasizes that he's no longer a child and isn't afraid to fight back, but Patty remains completely unshaken. Meanwhile, at the Abbott mansion, Billy shares exciting news with Jack. Sally is pregnant. Overjoyed, he adds that he's proposed, though Sally hasn't given him an answer yet. Both men hope she'll say yes. Billy quickly realizes the timing might seem insensitive given Jack's current struggles, but Jack reassures him that it's still wonderful news. Their conversation turns serious as they revisit Jack's kidnapping ordeal. Jack wonders if, deep down, he may have had feelings tied to Patty. He admits he initially pretended to go along with her as part of a plan, but once the drugs took effect, things spiraled out of control in ways he didn't expect. Billy questions whether it matters now, since what's done is done. The focus shifts to Victor, and Jack reveals he's determined to turn the situation around, possibly by getting Patty on his side. With nothing left to lose, he's ready to take bold risks. At the outdoor cafe, Sally confides in Audra about Billy's excitement over the baby and his desire to build a family together. Audra is cautious, pointing out how quickly Sally has shifted from fear to confidence. Sally admits things could go wrong but insists they can't let fear dictate their choices. She then reveals Billy's proposal. Audra reminds her that not long ago, their relationship was shaky and questions whether this decision is too rushed. Sally argues that their love is genuine, and sometimes moving fast isn't necessarily a bad thing. Still, she hasn't said yes, yet. Opening up further, Sally reflects on a past engagement to a man named Wyatt, which ended painfully. She admits she once went to great lengths to hold on to that relationship, even in ways she regrets. Those experiences left her with lingering insecurities, especially the fear that she might not be enough or that Billy could change his mind. Audra listens carefully and suggests that Sally needs to determine whether her hesitation comes from personal insecurity or real concerns about the relationship. Elsewhere, at Crimson Lights, Christine thanks Danny for supporting her as she steps into her new role as district attorney. Daniel soon joins them, congratulating Christine but noting that her new position is essentially Phyllis's worst nightmare. He explains that Phyllis believes Victor is framing her with fabricated evidence. Christine admits Victoria already hinted at this possibility but says that if evidence exists, she's obligated to examine it. Daniel insists his mother seemed genuinely convinced of her innocence. Christine calmly replies that if Phyllis hasn't done anything wrong, she has nothing to fear, and assures them she won't let personal history influence her professional decisions. At the ranch, Phyllis confronts Victor and Victoria, refusing to back down. When asked if she's ready to surrender, she flatly refuses, daring them to present their so-called evidence in court. She's confident Michael will dismantle their case. The argument escalates, with Phyllis accusing Victor of similar wrongdoing in the past and warning that it could land them both behind bars. Victor remains smug, especially when she brings up Jack's kidnapping. Victoria urges Phyllis to accept defeat and move on, but Phyllis refuses, determined to fight. Back at the club, Patty continues to provoke Kyle, insisting that Diane will never truly change and that Jack won't forget their night together. Kyle calls her delusional, but Patty simply teases him before walking away. As Kyle heads to the bar, Victoria arrives and subtly taunts him about the situation. He challenges her, questioning how she can live with the damage her father has caused. Victoria denies any proof linking Victor to Patty's return, but Kyle isn't convinced. He accuses her of ignoring the truth and suggests that deep down, she knows her father is responsible for destroying his family. He believes she carries guilt, even if she refuses to admit it. Later, at Crimson Lights, Phyllis confronts Daniel after learning he spoke to Christine. Furious, she accuses him of betrayal and claims her own children have sided with Victor. She lashes out emotionally, describing the pain of feeling abandoned by her family, before storming off and warning Daniel she won't forget this. At the Abbott mansion, Jack reflects on recent events, recalling how he tried to manipulate Patty during the yacht incident. He realizes that before everything went wrong, he did have a plan to use the situation against Victor. Back at the club, Victoria tells Kyle she can't accuse her father without solid proof, and neither can he. She points out that both of their fathers have made serious mistakes. Kyle insists Jack is nothing like Victor, but Victoria counters that while Victor isn't perfect, nearly losing him changed her perspective. She believes in loving someone despite their flaws and suggests the same principle applies to both men. Before leaving, she challenges Kyle to reflect on his own actions. Finally, at the cafe, Billy joins Sally and Audra. After some light tension, Audra leaves, and Billy shifts his focus to Sally, asking if she's made a decision about his proposal. As he nervously rambles, Sally silences him with a kiss and gives him her answer, yes. Overjoyed, Billy produces the ring again and formally asks her once more. When she accepts, he places it on her finger, sealing their engagement. In the closing moments, Jack returns to the club and notices Patty at the bar. She smiles at him, and after a brief pause, Jack responds with a knowing grin, hinting that his risky plan may already be in motion. Next update. Young and the Restless, Jack steps in to save Nick. Victor's rage reaches a boiling point. On The Young and the Restless, Nick Newman finds himself at his lowest point yet, caught in the grip of a dangerous addiction that's spiraling out of control. By the end of the week, the truth about his condition is no longer hidden. His entire family becomes aware of his struggle. However, the person who may ultimately help him recover might not be a Newman at all. Instead, Jack Abbott could emerge as the unlikely savior, setting the stage for a fierce reaction from Victor Newman if that scenario plays out. Nick's crisis escalates. The drama intensifies when Nick and Adam Newman head toward an abandoned gas station, where Matt Clark had previously held Sharon Newman and Noah Newman captive. During the drive, Adam notices Nick battling severe withdrawal symptoms. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, Adam urges his brother to take whatever he needs to stabilize himself, believing it's the only way they can safely navigate the crisis ahead. Adam reassures Nick that once they return home, they will address the issue properly, promising to get him into rehab and help him recover. Despite his shame, Nick gives in and takes fentanyl to ease his withdrawal symptoms, hoping to remain functional for the task at hand. A near-fatal turn. Things take a devastating turn upon their arrival. As they attempt to rescue Sharon and Noah, Nick suddenly collapses. The cause becomes clear: Matt's dealer had supplied tainted drugs, making Nick's already fragile state even more dangerous. The chaos escalates further when Matt, driven by revenge, detonates the abandoned garage. Fortunately, Chelsea Lawson had already alerted Victor, who dispatched his security team to the scene in Las Vegas. Their timely arrival ensures that Nick, Adam, Sharon, and Noah are rescued moments before the explosion. The truth comes out. Back in Genoa City, the aftermath of the ordeal forces Nick to confront reality. He finally opens up to Victor Newman about his addiction, revealing that he's been abusing fentanyl, with occasional cocaine use. The revelation shocks the Newman family, especially since the addiction traces back to the injuries Nick sustained in a car accident involving Matt, an incident that required surgery and introduced him to pain medication. Nikki Newman is likely to take the news particularly hard. Having faced her own battles with addiction, including a recent relapse triggered by Claire Newman and Jordan Howard's actions, Nikki understands the severity of Nick's situation. She is expected to push strongly for him to enter rehab as soon as possible. Resistance and denial. Despite the urgency, Nick may not be ready to accept help. His immediate concern remains unresolved threats, particularly Matt Clark, whom Sienna Bacall claims to have killed, a claim that seems highly questionable. Until Nick feels that danger is fully behind him, he may resist any attempt at treatment. Victor's stance adds another layer of uncertainty. While one might expect him to insist on rehab, his past behavior suggests otherwise. When Nikki relapsed, Victor failed to act decisively and even made matters worse by keeping alcohol within easy reach. This raises doubts about whether he will push Nick toward professional help or allow him to handle things on his own. Nick himself may believe he can overcome his addiction without outside assistance, a mindset that often complicates recovery. Jack Abbott's potential role. As the situation unfolds, Nikki may turn to Jack Abbott for help. Given their close friendship and shared history, she might ask Jack to speak with Nick and offer guidance. Jack's own past with addiction makes him uniquely qualified to connect with Nick on a deeper level. Years ago, Jack faced a remarkably similar struggle. After being shot by Patty Williams in 2012, he underwent surgery and was prescribed painkillers during recovery. What began as legitimate treatment quickly evolved into dependency, leading to erratic behavior that alarmed his loved ones. At the time, Jack was married to Phyllis Summers, and along with Neil Winters, Billy Abbott, and Kyle Abbott, she confronted him about his addiction. Jack initially tried to quit on his own but failed, eventually relapsing. An intervention only pushed him further into denial, causing him to lash out and even fire those who tried to help him. Jack's road to recovery. Jack eventually retreated to the Abbott cabin to detox, with Phyllis supporting him through the grueling process. His journey towards sobriety was not easy, but with Neil Winters acting as his sponsor, Jack was able to achieve lasting recovery. Since then, Jack has remained largely committed to sobriety. One notable exception occurred in 2024, when he deliberately took pills in an effort to scare Nikki into seeking help during what Victor later referred to as a night of debauchery. Thankfully, that moment did not lead to a full relapse, and Nikki ultimately entered rehab. Victor's likely reaction. Victor has never fully forgiven Jack for stepping in to help Nikki during her darkest moments. He resented the implication that he had failed to protect his wife and has harbored anger ever since. If Jack now becomes instrumental in helping Nick recover, Victor's reaction could be explosive. Despite wanting his son to get better, Victor's pride and long-standing rivalry with Jack may prevent him from appreciating Jack's role. Instead, he could view it as an unacceptable intrusion. Family fallout ahead. Should Jack succeed in reaching Nick and guiding him toward recovery, the consequences could ripple throughout the Newman family. Nikki would likely feel immense gratitude toward Jack, potentially deepening their bond. At the same time, Victor's resentment could intensify, straining his marriage even further. There's a real possibility that Nikki, disillusioned by Victor's behavior, could distance herself from him. Meanwhile, other characters, such as Adam, Chelsea, and Sharon, would likely support Jack's involvement and appreciate his efforts to help Nick. Victoria Newman, however, may take a different stance. Known for defending her father, she could downplay Jack's contribution and insist that Nick would have recovered regardless. What lies ahead? Nick's journey is shaping up to mirror Jack's past in striking ways. Both men struggled with addiction following physical trauma and initially resisted help, believing they could overcome their issues alone. This parallel makes Jack the ideal person to guide Nick through recovery. Whether Nick ultimately accepts that help remains to be seen. But if Jack does step in and succeed, it could ignite one of the most intense conflicts yet between him and Victor, one that might permanently alter relationships within the Newman family. As the story continues, all eyes will be on Nick's fight for recovery and the fallout that follows, especially if Jack proves to be the key to saving him. Next update. The Young and the Restless recap. Friday, May 1st. Matt found alive as Sienna struggles with the truth. The Friday, May 1st episode of The Young and the Restless delivers a shocking twist, confirming that Matt Clark is still alive despite Sienna Bacall's belief that she killed him. While Sienna falls apart emotionally back in Genoa City, the truth begins to unfold elsewhere. At Sharon Newman's home, Sharon gently encourages Sienna to recall the events leading up to the explosion. Sienna explains that she tried to reach Matt emotionally before everything spiraled, but her memory becomes unclear when it comes to the confrontation outside the car. She remembers being chased through the desert and eventually seeing Matt lying motionless on the ground, but key details remain missing. When Sharon asks whether she checked for a pulse, Sienna insists that Matt was dead. However, since no body has been found, Sharon can't help but question that conclusion. Overwhelmed by the pressure and uncertainty, Sienna abruptly leaves the cottage, prompting Noah Newman to go after her. Meanwhile, at the Newman Ranch, Nick Newman and Adam Newman update Victor Newman on Sienna's collapse in Las Vegas after she claimed responsibility for Matt's death. After receiving treatment at a hospital there, Sienna was brought back to Genoa City. Victor shifts the conversation to Nick's well-being, which leads to an emotional confession. Nick breaks down as he admits he became addicted to fentanyl. While he acknowledges that Matt played a role in his downward spiral, Nick takes accountability for his own choices. Adam speaks up about Nick's recovery efforts, including outpatient care and attending support meetings. Grateful for Adam's support, Nick reassures Victor that he's committed to getting better. Victor responds with a heartfelt embrace, choosing to believe in his son's determination. The discussion also touches on the suspicious emails that have surfaced implicating Phyllis Summers, Kane Ashby, and Billy Abbott. Nick questions whether the evidence is genuine, but Victor remains evasive. He suggests that authenticity is irrelevant, as his main goal is reclaiming what he believes was taken from him. Back at the cottage, Nick later reconnects with Sharon, who worries she may have pushed Sienna too hard during their conversation. The uncertainty surrounding Matt's fate continues to loom large. Elsewhere, in a dramatic reveal, Matt is shown lying in the desert with a head injury. In a pivotal moment, he regains consciousness, proving he survived the ordeal. At Crimson Lights, Victoria Newman hands over the incriminating emails to Christine Blair Romalotti. Christine notes that the evidence ties not only Phyllis but also Kane and Billy to the situation. Victoria downplays Billy's involvement but maintains a detached stance, claiming she's prepared to accept whatever consequences unfold, even if it impacts the father of her children. At the GCAC, Michael Baldwin faces a difficult decision. He admits that representing Phyllis would be seen by Victor as a serious betrayal. While he continues to weigh his options, both Phyllis and Lauren Fenmore Baldwin urge him to take Phyllis's side. Michael advises that Phyllis consider accepting a plea deal or revisiting a potential agreement with Victor. However, it's revealed that Michael had already attempted to negotiate behind Phyllis's back, which angers her. Realizing that Michael's loyalty still lies with Victor, Phyllis decides to seek new legal representation and storms off. Lauren follows up by confronting Michael, accusing him of being unable to break free from Victor's influence. Back at the ranch, Victoria informs the family that the evidence is now in Christine's possession, signaling more complications ahead. As the drama intensifies, it's clear the Newman family and their allies are far from out of trouble. With Matt alive and secrets continuing to surface, the situation is only getting more complicated. For more of the latest updates and behind-the-scenes secrets from Y and the Restless, make sure to hit subscribe and ring that bell. Stay in the know with every new release.